Hi. My name is, Professor or Dr. Gerald Ferman. I'm a graduate at the PhD at the University of Pennsylvania. I've been the professional head of two Jewish federations in the United States, and I have a little experience as a developer in Israel. I'm an American and I'm an Israeli. I still get excited uh, when I see the American flag, the 4th of July. I pledge allegiance to the flag, which I said throughout my education in the elementary school and maybe more. It did its work. But I'm an Israeli and I'm a Zionist. And before I go further, I just want to that the issue be complete. I am considered a right-winger, a graduate of Beitar, the United States, the traditions of Moshe Aaron. He was a big leader there at the time after I joined. So I wanted to be clear. I think I'm objective. I'm trying to be as objective as I can to explain what's happening in Israel. But you should know where I come from. And if you see I'm being subjective and my ideology is getting into my analysis, just forget about it and discount it. Okay, the major issue is what's going on in Israel. After 3 elections in which a government was not able to be formed, we had a situation in which after the 3rd election, the leading party was the Cherut or the Likud, 36 members of parliament and 33 for the Kachol Lavan party of Benny Gantz. And the population, the voters were extremely clear. They understood the present Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, is under indictment by the courts. They've seen this coming on for 2 years. And they know that the Kachol Lavan and all the left have demanded that he not be a prime minister because he's under indictment. But yet, 36 members of parliament and the right-wing bloc, which amounts to 58, are still prepared to accept him as the prime minister. A variety of reasons, political reasons, experience, what he's done in the past, etc., the good part that he's done, the economy, the bringing Israel into as a world leader, the high tech, all types of good things, and the standard of living in Israel has increased significantly. So they were aware of it. Now, the left-wing bloc included the Kachol Lavan and the left-wing Zionist parties, which amounted to, give or take, 33, 7, 40, 41, whatever. And the Lieberman party, which is a Russian party headed by Mr. Lieberman, who has great disdain for the prime minister, amounted to 7. If you put those together, they had less chance of forming a government than the 58 members of Likud. But there's another element here, and that's the, let's say, non-Zionist or anti-Zionist parties, meaning straight the Arab parties that have formed into a bloc and successfully rallied the Arab villages and the Arab population, and they succeeded with 15 votes. Now, what's happened in spite of the corona, in spite of the medical crisis, which one would assume that the best thing to do is to have a unity government. Everybody joins. the Kocholavan bloc would have a veto on the Likud bloc, and the Likud would have a veto on them, and only things that everybody agreed with, both parties of both blocs could be passed in the Knesset, in the parliament, and we would, delay all the political infighting, outfighting, etc., for 6 months or so, until the virus is done, and everybody would be participating in making the decisions vis-a-vis the virus, etc. So everybody would be a leader, so to speak. The opposition, the present government, etc. So everybody could benefit if it's done right. That would have been the natural thing, delaying everything. And the present prime minister offered that. An equality across the board, the veto, etc. But that apparently has been rejected. The revolutionary thing that's happened that had never happened before in Israel was, in spite of the corona, in spite of the crisis, the left-wing Zionist group decided to add the anti-Zionist or non-Zionist parties. Now, what do I mean by anti-Zionist or non-Zionist? The Arab population in Israel, voted for them. They are citizens of Israel. They benefit from all the goodness of Israel and all the badness of Israel. But although they want equal rights, and in most cases they have it, certainly civil rights, etc., they do not accept the Jewish state. They would prefer, in their language, to accept a state of all its citizens. That is not Jewish, not Muslim, nothing, but equality for all the citizens. And in that scenario, Aliyah would be thrown out, the Chok HaShvut, the law of return, because that's favoring the Jewish people. And the Jewish agency activities would be very questionable, because they're supported basically by Jews and people that accept the Jewish state and the Jewish people as the people that should be in the state of Israel. But in any event, the main thing is they want to change the state, and by changing the state for equal civil rights and national self-determination, they would bring in all the refugees of 48 and all their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc., and Israel would end up not as a Jewish state. So that's where they are. And one can understand them because they can do this. And they can run for office according to the rulings of the Supreme Court of Israel, etc. So what has happened is, when today in the Knesset, and today is the 25th of March, the chairman of the Knesset resigned. 62 members of the left, their allies, the Yisrael Beitenu, headed by Lieberman, and the Arab coalition have taken over the Knesset. The revolutionary element of this is, one, a chairman of the Knesset has never resigned. That's number one. Two, the courts basically forced them to resign, or basically push the country into some type of civil disobedience, or perhaps civil revolution. So he took the route of Menachem Begin. After the Altalena, the ship that the Ben-Gurion government destroyed, that was sitting in the Tel Aviv harbor, had nowhere to go, had no defenses, but they destroyed them and ended for 30, 40 years the Likud as an effective political party. In that respect, he resigned from his office. He protested against the intervention of the High Court of Justice, interfering with the work of the elected officials in the represents in the Knesset. In any event, this was called for by the Kahol Lavan bloc, and they have taken over all the committees of the Knesset, and now they are on their way to pass a law which will make it impossible for a person who's indicted to form an Israeli government. The assumption was, at least, it's not moral and it's not practical because he'll be involved in his case, which, given the way the courts work, will be 2 to 3 years. The justice, not the Justice Department, the the prosecution department is calling 330 witnesses, which is amazing. And the judges will have about 2 to 3 years in this case, which is also unbelievable, but that's the way it works with the present judicial system in Israel. So the precedent which eventually had to come is the Arab parties have determined which way the government will go. If Kahol Lavan and their partners, including the anti-Zionist or non-Zionist parties, form a government, then it will be, on an additional revolutionary act in which the minority population, who, as I said, is not a Zionist, they're in the anti-Zionist category, will basically control a good part of the agenda of that government. And if they wish to, they could remove it at any time by removing their parliamentary support. That's the revolution that's occurred. The people that are for Israel as a Jewish state forever, with civil rights for everybody and equality for everybody within the frame of Israel being the home forever of the Jewish people, now are divided at this point, that the population that's anti-Zionist or non-Zionist has leverage that they could start achieving their anti-Zionist and non-Zionist goals. They also support terror and all types of other things. But that's legitimate, and their position in the Knesset is legitimate, again, according to decisions over time of the High Court, which didn't permit exclusion of parties that don't accept Israel as the Jewish state, or have goals that are basically to change the very nature of essence of the state. So where do we go from here? There's not going to be a revolution, hopefully. Hopefully the political dialogue will not continue to heat up to create a situation where we're close to somebody on the right, to somebody on the left, will take the law into his own hands, as it was in the assassination of Rabin. Hopefully it'll slow down, and hopefully the Jewish people will come and get strong out of this and know that there are limits. Now, regarding the political process, we live in a democracy, whether it be in America or in Israel, and we all know that everything goes in a democracy. Lies, exaggerations, etc. That's the way the game is played. And in the end, good people will find some level of compromise so the country can go forward. That's all over the democratic world. Now, nobody has invented another system of government that's better. A dictatorship, who wants a dictatorship? A king, queen, who wants a family to rule, etc. This type of system gives most of the people, or at least the majority of people, enough to lose, rather than choose to go into a revolutionary mode or something like that. And in the 20th century, and certainly in the last 30, 40 years, we've seen it's brought great prosperity to the world. Not everybody, but a great many a great many people in each of the democratic countries. And it's the best system we know. So, what's happening in Israel? We are at the point where it can be very dangerous, or we can find a solution to proceed and devote our attention to the virus and return to sanity. The opposition, feels, at least what they say, that they cannot sit with Bibi Netanyahu because of an indictment. Now, in my view, they forgot the very essentials of democracy. A man is considered guilty only when he's proven guilty in the courts. But they, have taken the position that no, as long as the prosecution, which is, indicts him, and there are many things you could say about the prosecuting authorities and the judicial authorities in Israel, then he's as if he's guilty, or that he doesn't have time to do it, because he'll be worried about his own future. Well, everybody pretty much knows that, he doesn't have to be in the court just at the day in which they read the charges and when they read the decision. He has lawyers. And by the way, what's unreal in the system, in the judicial system, you have to be a multimillionaire. Every day that they'll be going to the courts will cost the prime minister personally 10 to 20,000 shekel, a lot of money, just for his lawyers. And if you have 330 witnesses that are going to be against you, obviously, if you're going to do it right, you're going to have to investigate them. Who are these people? What's their record? Have they lied before? Etc., etc. All of these, and that's hundreds of thousands of shekels. Basically, it amounts to millions and millions of shekel and dollars that the prime minister will have to round up and borrow in order to defend himself. Clearly, the judicial system, the Praklitud, the prosecution, and the judges were pretty much self-appointed, in the way that it's done in Israel. And therefore they can be independent of the political situation, and something has to change. Hopefully it will change and we will get over this, but people should be aware of what's happening. And that's what I have to say at this time. So if you are committed to Zionism and you're committed to the Israel, the Jewish state forever, be aware, be active, participate, and do it in a democratic way. What's that mean? As I said, lies, exaggerations, etc. But no guns and no physical violence. Although one could say on the left there's more of that than on the right, but that's a personal subjective comment, so you can strike that out of what I'm saying. Hopefully this analysis has been helpful. Best regards and best health for everybody, especially people like me, 80 plus. Okay, bye-bye.